Buying your first home can feel overwhelming between talking to agents, talking to your family, the lenders, the listing agents of the houses you're interested in, interest rates, social media advice. It's easy to make a very expensive mistake. After years of helping first-time buyers, I have observed these 4 habits that make for a successful purchase versus one that is filled with stress and uncertainty. Mistake number 1. It could be said that this is the most important mistake to avoid. That's house hunting before you know your credit picture. So before you contact anyone, talk to any family members, and get advice from people online or talk to lenders, you should know what your credit picture looks like. It's very tempting to get on Zillow and schedule some tours, but that is a pitfall. That is a number 1 mistake. So I know it's tempting to go on Zillow and start house hunting and maybe even set up tours, but take the time to evaluate your financial situation. This tip is more important than ever, so don't skip it. Today's homebuyers need to understand they must have not only their down payment, their closing cost, but potentially their buyer agent commission. Why might you have to pay for your agent? Because of the NAR settlement. If you haven't heard, it is a thing. This litigation separated, decoupled commissions from the listing on MLS. In fact, in El Paso, I can't list a house for a seller and offer a compensation to the buyer's agent. This was intentional in the settlement. They want to force that type of negotiation, the buyer agent compensation, in the contract, in the purchase contract. I won't go into detail about that. I will make a video about buyer compensation and how the NAR litigation has changed the industry. So let's talk about mistake number 2. When buyers go it alone. Yes, in this climate, real estate climate, and after post the NAR litigation and the settlement, where you must have a buyer representation agreement before you tour homes. Say you just want to go it alone. You don't want to hire an agent. Well, you certainly can. Say that you have a list of houses. Most first-time buyers have a list of about 10 houses to start. And are you going to call every one of these agents to get access? Are you going to schedule showings with the listing agent? And presumably that agent is going to represent both sides? I think I have a video that I've done earlier about dual agency and why that's not a good idea. So how are you going to handle showings? Are you just going to go to open houses? Wait till the house you want to see is on an open house? Even then, you go to the open house and the listing agent has to tell you that they represent the seller, and you tour the house and now you want to make an offer. How do you know what to bid? Are you going to trust that agent's valuation or the seller's asking price? What about negotiating contingencies? Do you know how to do that? Say that you have done your home inspection and there's some serious issues. How are you going to handle those negotiations? And what about appraisal contingencies? Say that it doesn't appraise. What are you going to do then? And I bring up this article here by MarketWatch, a very trusted publication, and it talks about the pitfalls that buyers are falling into because of the NAR settlement. So one concern raised after NAR is that some buyers that choose to tour homes and negotiate without a representation in order to save money, according to this article, an economist by the name of Ken Johnson argues that buyers that go directly to the listing agent are at a disadvantage because that listing agent's fiduciary duty is to the seller. I did a video about dual agency previously. You could probably check that out. The argument here in this article is that, the buyer's motive is saving money, but in fact, according to these economists and professionals, they warn that the inexperienced buyer doesn't have the experience of negotiating against an experienced realtor. Hi, welcome to my channel. Are you thinking about relocating to El Paso? Well, that's great. My team and I have put together a relocation guide, and it is chock full of information about employers, hospitals, schools, neighborhoods. I think you'll find it invaluable. Please feel free to access it in the link below, and we look forward to hearing from you. Now let's move on to number 3. A buyer mistake that you want to avoid is indecision. So one of the biggest mistakes first-time buyers make isn't choosing the wrong house, it's getting stuck trying to choose the perfect house. Most buyers assume that having more choices is an advantage. More listings, more neighborhoods, more online research. It almost feels productive. It feels responsible. And don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with having a level of certainty about the house you choose. This is more about analysis paralysis. It's actually a field that has been studied, and we'll go into a little bit of that. So to illustrate what I'm talking about, paralysis analysis, and it occurs when the amount of information and the number of choices becomes so large that making a decision becomes increasingly difficult. Instead of gaining confidence, buyers can often lose confidence. Psychologists have studied a phenomenon known as choice overload. The more choices you have, the more choices people have, the less likely they will make a decision. So the research shows that when people are presented with a large number of options, they often become less likely to make a decision at all. In other words, more options can increase interest while reducing action. And that's why when I'm touring homes with my clients, my buyers, I have them score the houses they choose from a scale to 1 to 10. What features they liked and disliked. So what does this mean in real estate? A buyer starts out looking at a few houses on Zillow. Then the next day it increases to 50 houses. By the end of the week, they have saved about 100 houses. Then they explore other neighborhoods and other price ranges and features. And after hours of research, they're no closer to making a decision. I think that's why many first-time home buyers choose new construction, because it's a blank slate. Yes, they're looking at a floor plan, they're looking at a lot, but they don't have to make the decisions. The builder already has a specific home that's going to go on a specific lot, and that narrows the choices the buyer has to make. The builder has restricted their choices to color, limiting the finishes to color variation between flooring or tiles on the shingles on the roof or the exterior paint. But that's it. The buyer doesn't have to make any more decisions. And don't get me wrong, nothing is wrong with first-time home buyers purchasing new construction. The issue becomes when we need to go look at resale and there are so many options, so many decisions to make, buyers can become overwhelmed. There's a theory called paradox of choice by Barry Schwartz, and he argues that excessive choices can also increase anxiety. They say that home buying is one of the top most difficult decision-making period of a person's life. Second guessing and regrets, and how I've seen this play out. One time I worked with a buyer for over a year, and like I mentioned before, he ended up purchasing new because he was risk averse. The builder made it very easy to just pick a floor plan, pick some paint colors, and that was done. 6 months later, he had his house and he's very happy. The more alternatives buyers compare, the easier it becomes to imagine that another option might have been better. And home buyers experience this every day. They find a house they like, then they wonder if there's a better one that will come on the market next week. Then they worry that they haven't seen enough homes yet. They continue searching and comparing and researching. I have a family member in Dallas that experienced this, and she's a professional. She's in fact an architect. And it would take a year before she made a choice. And what did she buy? New construction. those choices were narrowed for her and her high pressure job, and it made it much less stressful to buy new construction. The irony of this is that the more certain you want to be about your choice, the more uncertain it becomes in the long run. There's a Nobel Prize winner economist named Herbert Simon. He described this concept called bounded rationality. His research recognized that human beings never have perfect information, unlimited time, or unlimited mental capacity. Every important decision must eventually be made with incomplete information. You'll never have the whole picture. Especially in real estate, no buyer can know the future interest rates or the future value of homes or the makeup of a neighborhood. Home buyers that are waiting for a perfect, certain house will lose out at the end. The goal should be a well-informed decision based on clear priorities and a plan, reasonable information, and the opportunity available to you today. We've come to number 4, the 4th critical mistakes buyers make when purchasing a home. And according to a recent Zillow survey, 75% of home buyers had at least one regret about their purchase. This isn't just for resale homes, this is for new construction homes as well. The most frequently cited regret involved unexpected repairs or maintenance. That's right, even new construction requires some maintenance. And although the builder says you're covered for 2 to 10 years on their service warranty, if you read the details of that warranty, there's a number of ways that buyers can void that warranty. In fact, one of the major regrets was that the home was too small. When you buy new construction, you're buying by the square foot. So if your price point is $300,000 and under, and the builder's charging $200 a square foot, you're going to have a small home. Home buyers are dazzled by the newness of the home that they don't realize, well, not immediately, how small the home is or how they've compromised on their list of demands initially. Like they'll want a gourmet kitchen, but they'll settle for a 10 by 10 kitchen because it has a kitchen island in new construction. Now, this survey didn't conclude that the buyers necessarily purchased a defective home. Rather, many reported that the amount of maintenance required after moving was greater than they anticipated. Maybe with older homes that's true, but with new construction you shouldn't have that problem. And unfortunately, you will encounter that. Now, there's a commonly cited rule of thumb for housing that economists use, and that's that budget for roughly a 1 to 4% of the home's value for annual maintenance and repairs. Now, can you think of any regrets you've had since buying your home? Please help out our community and post your comments. Anything I've left out, feel free to comment on that. And I think I'll wrap this video up now. I'll see you on the next one.